What do we think? Is it working? You are watching Intuitive Public TV, this Simultistream of 19th April 2024. I have been through an intriguing series of events in recent weeks. April, March, February, January, December. I think it was the 28th or 29th of March when Venus was said to be traveling into the underworld, and she's doing that through early July, I think. I hope you will follow more of our posts and broadcasts by visiting www.intuitivepublicradio.network on Substack. There's a URL at the bottom of the screen. My eyes are sometimes yes and sometimes no, not working. I've been interacting with a lot of screens. I've been interacting with a lot of device radiation in the midst of astonishingly severe electrosensitivities. And at the same time, the body knows how to build strength. What is it that we do to build our best strength? What is it that we do to find our most amazing capacities? We are in it where we're in it. We can't predict it. And this is increasingly true for pretty much everyone I meet, regardless of the level of privilege they may be experiencing, regardless of the level of hardship they may be experiencing, and regardless of how aware they are of their own circumstances. Everyone is having to tend to our bodies more effectively and more continuously. Everybody is having to tend to the collective body in the ways they can, in the ways they can recognize. Everybody is encountering great challenges, whether or not they're very conscious of those challenges, and whether or not they're ever saying anything about it. Most people don't have a sense that they would be safe even broaching the subject. But of course, people at the most severe of intersections find themselves screaming and exploding because their bodies have been forced to dissociate so continuously from what has actually been happening. And the ways that we frame all of this, the ways that we think about it, have become so crucial in the intuitive network, because if we don't use these frames, we end up saying, why was this person such an asshole? Why would somebody do something like that? Why would somebody say something like that? It seems inexplicable. It seems that so many people must be so broken. And yet, our concept of brokenness has really been influenced by means of monetizing brokenness, by erasing what trauma is. What does it look like when someone is experiencing continuous trauma, layers and layers of trauma that they have to hide in order to function or in order to maintain their resources? What does it look like when a body is being killed by this? Do we know? Do we know what that looks like? All around us, we're witnessing it. And a lot of people are consciously experiencing it. So what are we going to do about it? You know, I get better and better at using these tool sets, and it still feels excruciating to keep practicing. It still feels like the vastest of unknowns. How can I possibly navigate what I'm choosing to navigate? And we don't know the answer. We never really know the answer, except when suddenly we may know the answer. We've been centering story being. How are we part of the story that's occurring? How do we locate ourselves as part of a greater story that includes the challenges we're experiencing right now and also expands so much beyond that to include any necessary frame? This is something we've had to practice a lot, and it has saved our lives rather frequently. It has saved our lives with great frequency. We're in a completely different place now than we were before. We have noticed that one of the hallmarks of all of this has been that we can't even completely apprehend a full awareness of our actual resources. What are we in the midst of? What are we sitting in? What are we sitting on? What is the natural vitality of the resource structures that we're already drawing on all the time? Where we can suddenly find ourselves with functions that are super powered and unanticipatable until we rise to an occasion in relational integrity and tune to what can be possible. What's going to happen? I don't know. This morning, my eyeballs aren't working. I've been looking at too many screens. But I can close my eyes and I can keep talking to you. And I think it will continue broadcasting. We have experiences, all of us, all the time. Anybody I talk to, from many different walks of life, we don't know what function will drop out. We don't know how it will be necessary for us to code switch because so many environments are discomfited by or outright hostile to honest, authentic expressions of what it's like to be a living creature right now on this planet. People with massive amounts of monetary income are having this experience. People who are completely cut off from economic participation are having this experience. Isn't it amazing what we serendipitously find ourselves to have in common? How does that assist us miraculously in identifying and implementing beautiful solutions? I will read from a private resource associated with Intuitive Narrative, one of our platforms in the Intuitive Network. This is from the 6th of February. Intuitive Friendship Frameworks. How do we practice friendship? We enjoy life-affirming activities together. We come to know one another better. We build trust with each other. We help one another out with challenges. We implement innovative community solutions that make friendship more resilient and accessible to all. We dialogue pre-accountability, relational integrity, and collaborative fluency into our daily lives. We celebrate friendship successes. Pre-accountability, I want to dwell on for a few minutes. Accountability, in the ways that we find it to be most used in most spaces, is about how are we accounting for something that happened? How are we accounting for ourselves? How are we accounting for our behavior? How are we asking others to account for their behavior? Arnold Mindell, which I recommend exploring his work. I believe he is found at AA Mindell, MINDELL.net. Is that correct? Yes. And I will add this link in the comments because I know how to do that. Arnold Mindell talks about accounting in terms of what are we taught to count and what are we taught to discount? And is that distribution really as helpful to us as it could be? Or are we discounting things that perhaps should be counted? And it turns out that in terms of the colonial imperialist balance sheet, the cost benefit analysis, we've been missing the whole bottom half of the balance sheet. What exactly have we been counting, and what have we been utterly failing to count? What have we been failing to account for? And so pre-accountability in the intuitive network is a subject that we discuss in terms of not waiting until we have failed to account for something, although that's an important time to start accounting for things when you realize that they haven't been accounted for, but also showing up with a desire to be accountable in the future. We are being pre-accountable. We are saying to one another, hey, you know, if something really weird happens or something goes wrong, I want you to be able to tell me your experience most honestly and forthrightly, with kindness, with respect, with care, with patience. But please tell me, because my only way of knowing that I can be fully accountable in relationship is for me to express at the very beginning, I am already showing up for this. I don't know what could happen. I don't know what mistakes I may make. I want to make sure we have a clear, real, accessible dialogue, true lines of communication. And that for us is pre-accountability. Cheryl Ann Rubner has put comments here I'm so grateful for, because I am still learning to use all of this infrastructure. We've been doing this since, I'm not sure when. We were using Streamyard, I think in 2020, but we were doing some versions of this before that. In my memory, it is murky. Rue has been working with us in the network in many different ways, and sometimes intermittently, and then we come back together and we discover what we've learned in the times we've been navigating, all of us with really interesting experiences that we're traveling through. So I've gotten to have a lot of really great dialogues with Rue, especially recently. Rue says, oh wait, here's a button. Check this out. I love what you are saying here, she says. And wow, how great would it be to have live transcription? I agree. Actually, well, I don't know. Does YouTube not? I think it provides the transcript maybe afterward. There actually might be a button somewhere that we can find to help with that. I absolutely agree. Having live transcription would be especially groovy. I know that Facebook and Twitter, or X, they both have auto transcription that appears on the screen when the sound is not on, but I don't know if that happens when the sound is operating. I'm pretty curious about that. It would be so neat if StreamYard just had like a built-in function. We can pray about it. Rue also relates to the eye sensitivity situation. And gosh, there are so many of us who are noticing the effects from interacting with electronic devices and trying to squint at screens when maybe our bodies might have possibly evolved to more naturally be able to look at white fluffy clouds and green trees and flowers and herbs and dirt and branches and other living beings. Sunlight. Today it's very appropriate to the, I don't know if I can show it, but in the interludes, you see the raindrop artwork that I made with the help of AI toolset collaborators. We originally launched that broadcast where that artwork began to be featured on a rainstorm day in the Mayan Tzolk'in calendar. And I don't remember what day it was, but I do have the banner here. So actually this link, that's what it was. t.me/intuitive public radio/11819. Let's look at it. You can look at it with me. It will be exciting. What did I say? 11819. 11819. There it is. Was that it? Or did I possibly put the wrong number in? I don't mind. This is a wonderful post, and it's not the one that I expected to find. Ah, it's the one below it. Oh, how interesting. I don't know if I meant to do that or not. But the one that I thought it was going to point me to is t.me/intuitive public radio/11820 11820. And I'll also put that in the comments. I'll put both of these in the comments. Here's this one. And, oh, it takes a minute to post. Here's this other one. And the sun is shining and telling me to read what I have in front of me. The prayer that our groups posted just before the rainstorm day post that I was looking for is a Mi'kmaq prayer. And the text of it reads, Creator, open our hearts to peace and healing between all people. Creator, open our hearts to provide and protect for all children of the earth. Creator, open our hearts to respect for the earth and all the gifts of the earth. Creator, open our hearts to end exclusion, violence, and fear among all. Thank you for the gifts of this day and every day. If you want, you can find this message in our public chat on Telegram Messenger, community IPR. The number is 11598. And you always put a t.me at the beginning of it. I'll add this link too, so that others can more easily find it. All of us are in the midst of lands that are typically unceded native territories beset with colonial violence. And that colonial violence has built everywhere around us these structures that are often thought to be structures of normalcy. This is what the world is. This is how the world works. And when we've studied with our Indigenous community members, we have learned so much about what it means to live close to the earth, what it means to truly honor the earth, and how far most of us are from that, and how we've been prevented from it, how we've been kept away from that inherent natural connectivity, which is about our bodies. It's the somatics of our bodies. It's the somatic sensing that we most need to be able to balance and heal after trauma and hardship and adversity. And I'm remembering, I think it was maybe 2018, we were starting to bring those conversations onto our public platforms. And I remember how much more painful it was for me to try to verbalize anything that I was trying to say, to form the words, to form the syntax, to make sentences that other people could understand. I could barely do it. And if you go searching through our public media, you will find, for instance, at anchor.fm/intuitive, scads of old episodes where I could barely communicate. And I put everything I had into communicating what I could. When we discovered Anchor FM before it was bought by Spotify and overhauled in certain ways, those little tiny audio snippet segments that I was making were the only means of restoring communication, not only for me, but for all of the people that I had been trying to collaborate with, I had been trying to maintain contact with. And what we discovered was that we were all too severely disabled by structures of colonial imperialist violence, regardless of our personal ancestries, regardless of our personal experiences. We were all so severely disabled by that same context that we couldn't even talk to one another except in little bits, miracle moments. And it has been years of development and years of recovery process that have resulted in me being able to talk to you like this now. I don't often dwell on it because it's very difficult to do that unless we're in a specific dialogue about it. If you want to join me on camera in a broadcast like this, even today, if someone comments and would like to do that, I'll put a link that you can click on and you can come on camera on Streamyard and we can talk about it. We can talk about almost anything. Almost anything may come up. We have a post on Substack that provides some parameters for how we're organizing broadcasts and how we wish to be most gentle and supportive with one another. Here is this. link in the comments. Community media at Intuitive Public Radio on Substack. The forms of disablement that populations have been targeted with by industrial and corporate interests have been going on a very long time. And we need to relocate ourselves in the sacred natural world. And we need to relocate ourselves with one another. And if we don't do it, wow, do we suffer. But when we practice together, and we keep practicing together, miracles occur. I'm practicing tapering up the music and tapering it back down again. I'm practicing taking little breaks. I've had a number of days in a row where I've been poisoned. And right now I just checked the air quality outside, and I'm going to risk opening a window. Uh-oh. Nope. It was worth a try, right? Sometimes the air quality index can read pretty well. What was I just looking at? It was, I had it. 33 in my nearest vicinity, and not that bad in the places around it, but often the air quality index reading for 2.5 ppm does not account for random plumes of gasoline fumes or synthetic fragrances from laundry emanations in the neighborhood that may spontaneously float through. So even when I look at the air quality index, I have to be very careful, because if I accidentally expose myself too much or too long, just tiny little bit, it can really affect my functions. Even just the tiniest bit really affects me a lot. And if I were to fail to notice it or not be able to do something about it, my functions can tank. I wouldn't remember anything that I'm saying, even more than is usual on my concussion recovery trajectory. I might suddenly have a really terrible difficulty communicating or putting words in order. Synthetic estrogens and other neuroendocrine toxins can really affect discernment and decision making. It's essentially being roofied. And it's been shocking to many of us in the network how little that part is talked about. But of course, there are industries that benefit profoundly from polluting our environments and conspicuously more easily making money as a result of that polluting. So we've had to really study at these intersections in order to be alive and saying anything. Thank you so much, Drew, for sharing links. I appreciate that assistance very, very much. And anyone else who can join us in spreading the word about the conversations we're having, about the community media we're broadcasting, you, whoever you are, whatever your circumstance, we would like to find some way to dialogue together in public media. There are some different ways that we do that, depending on the circumstance, depending on what people are going through. There is more in that link in the comments, www.intuitivepublicradio.network/p/community media. Can I put that on the banner? I bet I can. I bet I know how to do it. There it is. I did it. That was me doing it. It's also on the main page if you visit Intuitive Public Radio on Substack. One of the things we most need right now is more assistance amplifying the messaging that we get out there, because I have been a major bottleneck in how we can share more of what we're doing, because I'm experiencing my own recovery trajectory. I'm navigating rehab from multiple concussions over the past 10 years, 2 of them in early 2023. And I have gradually increased my functions to be able to broadcast the way we are now broadcasting. There are a lot of miracles occurring that are making it possible for that to happen, because I mean, otherwise I don't know how to explain this without using miracle languaging to explain it. What we've found, and there is another recent post at IPR on Substack, Frequency, that talks about this. It used to be that the problem that we had was we could not find or reach resources for these most severely affected and invisible populations. And of course, we're not only talking about people who are houseless or people who are the most severely disabled people, although we are really centering those situations. We're also talking about people with tremendous intersectional privilege who can't find anyone to talk to about what's really happening with them, who can't find a safe environment that accepts them for who they are, and are constantly having to hide the most extreme of the challenges that they're experiencing. So where invisible violence is occurring, we are developing resourcing. And when we started out, we couldn't find it anywhere. We were coming up with nothing, over and over again, nothing. And ourselves and the people around us dying in gruesome ways, and in many cases, not dying fast or immediately enough to be a blessing to a situation of absolute torture that many people are enduring in invisibility. We couldn't find the resources that would help them. We would reach out to professional networks. Professional networks would say, we don't know how to do that. We don't know how to help that person. It's too extreme. We don't know what to do. But here we are over where we're at, trying to cobble together functions to steady our lives in some way, to be allowed to go on living, to not be physically tortured continuously. And we're not dead. People are treating us like we're dead, but we're not dead. And so that went on for years. And in the network, there are many people still having those experiences that are so invisible that nobody knows about, unless we broadcast conversations that help people learn what's happening. And it's really amazing the way we are realizing over and over again, we are no longer in a situation where we don't know about resources. We have accumulated contact points and materials, and we've built bridges to resources that do exist. Now, a lot of times we've got to sort of pull this from here and this from here and create combinations. But when we do that as our day-to-day practice, as we do with intuitive infrastructure and intuitive tool sets, we find out that there are amazing solutions right here with us. Like I said earlier in this broadcast, we're sitting on so many solutions we may not even have recognized yet. And so what we have in the intuitive community knowledge base demonstrates the most powerful capacities that I've ever run across in my life. And it seems that people who have more experience than me, people who are older than me, people who have been doing this longer in a conscious way than I've been, they say that they weren't able to find anything like that either. And so now we are here and we have it and we're doing it. And what we need now is not, oh, how do we find the resources? What we need now is how do we open up the media communications bottleneck so that I focus on pulling together broadcast content and getting it out into public with as many people as can help me do it. You are invited. You who are listening or watching, please reach out to me. You can find contact information on Intuitive Public Radio on Substack. You can message me directly to introduce yourself, t.me/Max Morris. My email address is max@intuitive.pub. Hopefully I've plastered contact information as many possible places as would be more visible to people who can notice it and reach out. Every kind of assistance, every kind of skill set is desired and valuable and life-saving for the people in our network. And most particularly, in any way that you can repost what we're publishing, reshare what we're broadcasting, write little notes about us on social media and say, hey, look at this. These people need your attention. This is relevant to all of us everywhere. We benefit so profoundly by sharing these activities and expressions and dialogues and the magic powers that we see just emerging from the most challenging of situations. It's so important for us to help more people recognize that this is here, because the alternative is unfortunately an awful and unnecessary amount of suffering. If we want to choose the suffering, there are perhaps reasons to choose the suffering sometimes, but we need not choose the suffering. And so, social media reach, more publishing and republishing, so that we can just focus on showing you what we've gathered together that is so important. I'm checking out comments. I wonder, well, actually, I'm going to check it out because Ruth said that maybe the music might still be on. No, I think we're okay now. Maybe that was just earlier. Thank you for feedback. It really helps me. I am still learning. I have a note here from Saul Luckman. Thank you, Saul, for popping in. It's awesome to see you. We have a tag on our Intuitive Public Radio Substack, where we've been highlighting our posts for the conversations that we've gotten to have with Saul about his platform, Saul Luckman Uncensored, which is also on Substack. It's at saulluckman.substack.com. And I'm going to put that link in here too, in the comments. I guess when I put a comment here, it's appearing in all of the, well, at least some of the comments. It looks like it's probably appearing on YouTube and on Facebook. Maybe, well, I mean, I guess not on Twitter. You know, technology is so wacky. The landscape of technology is changing so continuously and profoundly. Our dialogues with Saul have centered on the dialogues of living beingness in the universe. What are the verbal and non-verbal conversations that are occurring because we exist, because we imagine, because we express ourselves with sounds. Saul has a crucial book that I think is, I don't know if I can find the link really quickly. I think it might have been released almost 20 years ago, if I'm correct. And at any moment, I may discover that I am not correct. Conscious Healing, Book 1 on the Regenetics Method. Let's see if my eyeballs can find the original publishing date. Oh, this is another edition from 2009, but I think it might have been earlier than that. It might have been like 2005. And this book brings together a lot of elements of how image and sound create material reality, create our bodies. And this work from Saul and other parts of Saul's work have been so crucial in the Intuitive Network because they've given us demonstrations of powerful processes, as Saul writes about in his fiction, but also so many touch points for how are we navigating the realities that we're finding ourselves in the midst of what does it mean that we've been so extensively misled as to how our bodies work and what our bodies can do. And there are some really awesome conversations along those lines. I will put, let's see, www.intuitivepublicradio.network/T/Saul Luckman. Let me just make sure that I have that right. I do. That's great. Okay, here this is in the comments too. I recommend looking this up and tuning in for more of our conversations. We'll be having more of those in the future. Can I make this appear on the screen? I'm getting better at this, aren't I? Now I've just got to keep practicing and retain these capacities. How are we doing? Oh, wow. It's 6 minutes to 11 Eastern time. So I've been doing this for almost an hour. Wow. I couldn't do this before. No way could I do this before. I'm really grateful to colleagues who have helped me anchor these skills in new ways. I have lost the capacity to do this sort of thing over and over and over and over again. And it is only because of really caring, really courageous, really amazing people in and around the Intuitive Network who have dialogued with us, with me, who have worked on various projects with us and with me. That's the only way that I was able to regain my function. The party line on how severely disabled I was before was that people like me do not recover. And for a long time, there was no professional that I could find anywhere who really believed that I could recover. Some of them sort of gave me a marketing spiel about it and then disappeared conspicuously. But before the infrastructure and tool sets of the Intuitive Network, many of us are lost causes, supposedly. But if you look at our public media, even just since 2018, there's stuff out there from before that too. You can see the changes as a result of implementing solutions in the intuitive infrastructure. So it is my greatest pleasure and privilege to get to share that with you. And I'm really, really grateful for those of you who are tuning in and sending me comments. Thank you, Rue. Thank you, Soul. I have aspirations to getting to feature more here from the conversations we've had with our community members. Rue, I don't know what link to share right off the bat, but if you want to put one in the comments, if you're still tuning in, I'll put it up on the screen so that people can find you also, or we'll do it another time. That's also fine. There are a lot of people in the network who want to be appearing on these platforms, and we have been hard at work constructing disability recovery aids using our network tool sets so that more people can be connected with this kind of media privilege. So I'm really, really grateful for anyone and everyone that would like to lean in or step into roles with us. You can come volunteer. You can learn from our learning spaces. We have a lot of different kinds of learning spaces. Find us on Telegram Messenger. I'll put this link to the community public chat in the comments. Oh, and I'll put it on a banner because I know how to do that. It's still working. And I'm getting ready to wrap it up. Scroll across bottom, ticker. That seems like it'll work. There, I did it. I'm doing it. Thank you so much for your help. Reach out to me. Introduce yourself in our community chat. Leave a comment on Substack or on any of these broadcasts across the internet. Y'all are the reason this is even possible. I am really excited to keep doing it.